Hi, my name's Catherine, and today we're talking about the mind and how we are actually in control of how we feel, how we think. We're in control of so much, but we just don't realize it. And once we can understand that we're at the steering wheel of our thoughts, then that can really make life a lot better. So there are so many influences around us that can lead us to feeling very anxious and feeling depressed. We have the news, which is never good, constantly fed to us via the television, via our phones, our iPads. We're constantly fed news of the outside world. And actually, the news can cause us to feel very, very stressed, and it can cause us to feel a lot of despair, because so much of what is happening we feel we are not in control of, and there's nothing we can do about it. So we're just watching terrible things happen and we don't know what to do. So I myself, at the moment, I am taking a break from the news. That's not because I don't care about what's happening in the world around me. It's because I care too much. And you may be able to relate to this. Last year I was glued to the news, and I all the time constantly checking updates, seeing what's happening next. And I realised that I was getting very swept up in it. And actually, that was to the detriment of my daughter who lives with me. She was saying, "Mummy, come on, stop looking constantly." And it made me think, and I thought, this isn't right. Yes, I can be passionate about other people and empathetic about others, but it's not right if I'm getting so consumed by what's happening around the world that I'm actually not paying my own daughter the right attention. So I decided, because I get very passionate, and I decided I was going to give the news a break. And since I did that, since I've made a conscious decision not to be reading the news, I feel so much happier actually. A lot of my anxiety has gone. Now, that's not to say that I will never go back to the news. Of course I will. From a very young age, I was always keeping up to date with the news. But the thing is when it starts taking a negative effect on your life, then I think you need to be able to think, this isn't balanced for me. So maybe taking a break for a while, and then I can revisit it, perhaps in a more balanced way. Also, when we're watching the news and we feel like it's out of our control, it's very frustrating. Now, last year I did go on some protests, and that sort of helped me feel like I was doing something, but it still didn't really feel like enough. But when we're in a place where we're really stressed and really anxious, our ability to be effective and do things effectively are lower. So I'm taking this break away from the news to rebuild myself to feel more confident, to feel more relaxed, to feel more at ease. And then when I re-enter the world of news, I will have some strength, and I will have also had some time to think about, well, what are the things I can actually do when I see something that I'm really affected by? What moves can I make that might make just some small changes? Now, I think we can make changes ourselves, very much so, just in our day-to-day. I am a big believer in raising all of our vibrations, yes? So just by being kind to one another, that it can just, I feel, have a huge effect. So if I'm driving down the road and I see someone needs to turn ahead of me, and it's my right of way, but I will stop anyway and I will let them pass. And it just, that sort of feeling just feels good. I don't know the person, they don't know me, but I've done something kind to someone, and that really promotes good feeling for them and for me. If someone lets you go in the traffic, rather than just sort of put your hand up like that, if you give them a big beaming smile, you see the look on their face, they think, oh, that's great. You know, it's just sort of that being kind to one another in our day-to-day life really, I think, makes a difference. I also have tried and adopt the doing a good deed. I try and make sure that once a day, at least once a day, I have done some sort of good deed. A selfless act that has improved someone else. It doesn't have to be big, even if it's just holding a door open for someone. But just taking that time to think about just spreading kindness out to the rest of the world. I feel if we're sending out those good vibrations, then whoever we're sending those good vibrations are can also vibrate higher and happier. So I think it's very important to protect our minds. Yes, I do feel a little bit embarrassed if people ask me about the day-to-day news, and I don't want to come across as ignorant, because I'm not. I'm using that time that I'm not reading the news to study more history, which I love, or just to study other things. Not reading the news doesn't mean you don't have to be educated. You can still educate yourself on other things. But having that breakaway has been so helpful. So do please write in the comments, let me know if maybe you too are having a break from the news, because I know this is something quite a few people are doing. They are making a conscious choice to step away. And tell me how that's going for you. Also, we can decide in our minds when we are living from the conscious part of our minds, when we are making choices with intention. And once you get into the practice of this, where you are just making your conscious choices and you are deciding what thoughts you are allowing in and out, it takes a while, but once you get used to thinking in that way, it's amazing. It's like the other day I was feeling a little bit sad and feeling a little bit stressed, and I managed to think my way out of that. Okay, I still had feelings of sadness, but I managed to raise it so that I didn't feel quite so sad just by what I was allowing, what thoughts I was allowing into my mind. Because we are the gatekeepers of our minds. And up until recently, I just used to allow everything in, every panic, every worry, every concern. But now I'm in control of that. And actually, there's so much that we think about, so much that we worry about that we just don't even need to be worrying about. But we tell ourselves that we do. So you can literally talk to yourself and say, I don't need to be worrying and panicking about this. I am holding on to this thought and I am worrying and panicking about it, but I don't actually need to be. I can just let that go. And once you realise that you can do that, oh my gosh, it just makes life so much easier. It's the same with ruminating. Often when we feel depressed, we're thinking about the past and the things that have happened in the past, and we're feeling sad or regretful about that. But you too can decide, actually, I am in my head, I am thinking constantly about this situation and how sad it's making me, and whatever the situation is, the fact that this has happened and that has happened and this is making me feel so sad. But you don't have to ruminate on the past. You can say, okay, this was a sad situation, and actually this did make me feel sad, and I'm really sorry that this happened. But by me just sort of thinking about that over and over and over again, it's not changing anything. I can't change what has happened. It's already happened. But I can change the way that I'm thinking about what happened. Now, by not thinking about it, it doesn't mean I don't care. It just means that I've decided not to let that sadness sit on me all day and each day. So I will recognize that sadness. I will see it for the sadness it is. I will place that sadness over there and give it the respect that it was worthy of. But I'm not going to let that sadness stay in my thoughts all the time. I'm going to actually think of other things that bring me happiness. Because we can cling and hold on to stuff. We can hold on to stuff for years. We can just become so depressed because we can't let things go. But that not letting go doesn't change any of the past. The past is just the past. And again, with the future, we can get so caught up in anxiety of what might happen. This could happen, and that could happen, and this could happen, and that could happen. And then if all that happens, it's just going to be a disaster. But we don't actually know what is going to happen. And by learning to be able to sit with that uncertainty, to realize that actually, yeah, life is uncertain. We don't know what's going to happen next. But that's the beautiful thing about life, because if we already had a whole story written out in front of us and we were like, oh yeah, and in 10 years time I'm going to be doing this, oh, turn the page, oh, in 15 years time I'll be doing this, we would be really bored, wouldn't we? Because we'd already know what's going to happen and there'd be nothing to look forward to because we know it all. Yeah? So if we can understand that actually uncertainty doesn't have to be a bad thing, it can be an exciting thing. And yes, there will be things that come in that aren't so great, but there will also be things that come in that will be incredible. And so worrying about things that haven't happened and might not happen is just a whole waste of energy that's getting us feeling anxious. Why do I feel so passionate about this? Well, I feel so passionate about this because I have come to the realization that a lot of our physical body is affected by our mental state. In the past couple of months, so for years I have been really bad asthmatic and I have been hospitalized several times because of my asthma, and I have never in I don't know how many years been able to take a full breath. All my breaths have been, even when I'm, I'm okay as such. But since I've been learning to control my mind, since I've been learning to be the gatekeeper of my thoughts and control what comes in and what doesn't, my breathing has improved dramatically. I can now take a full breath. I could never do that before. I can walk up the stairs without... I am noticing such a difference, and that's because it can only be because I am changing how my mind is working and my body is relaxing. All those muscles, all those aches and pains in my shoulders that I constantly got, they are disappearing. So yes, I do feel very passionate about this because we all want to feel well, and especially as we age, we don't want to feel like our bodies are pulling us down before we're mentally ready. So we want to be firing on all cylinders. Anyway, if any of this video resonated with you today, please do let me know. Please write in the comments because I do love to hear from you. And please do subscribe and come and join us, part of this growing family of people that we can chat to and just share our ideas on how to live a more happier, more relaxed life. And that's it. So yes, so what our aim always is finding that peace within to send all our love out. And I send all my love out to you, and have a wonderful day. Bye.